Hi everyone, I am Varun Ramanathan, lead AI architect here at Indexnine. Welcome back to the Indexnine Podcast. Today we are diving into something that's becoming impossible to ignore in enterprise AI adoption, the rise of spec-driven development. We are at a moment in the industry where AI is moving faster than teams can adapt. Tools are powerful, shipping velocity is accelerating, but alignment, direction, predictability, those are still painfully elusive. And if you're paying attention, you can feel that something fundamental is shifting beneath the surface. There is a plethora of topics to discuss under this umbrella, but we'll open the door just enough. On that note, I'm joined by someone who's right at the center of our thought leadership, our CTO, Ashish Singla. He spent 2 decades engineering organizations through multiple waves of change, watched teams scale, collapse, reinvent themselves, and now he's shaping how Index9 approaches AI enabled engineering in a way that is, I'll just say, a little ahead of where the industry is today. Ashish, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Varun. Always fun to take one of our late night hallway conversations and actually put it on record. Over the years, I've seen monoliths turn into distributed systems. I've watched organizations struggle with DevOps adoption. And now I'm watching AI disrupt engineering in ways that feel both fundamental and fundamentally new. So, this topic, how we build software in an AI first world, is something that's very close to my heart.
Let's start exactly there with the feeling. Because if you talk to engineering teams today, there's this weird mix of excitement and anxiety. They're using AI, but they're not seeing the transformation that they hoped for. So let me ask you, what shift do you think teams are feeling right now, even if they can't articulate it yet?
Well, the shift is this: velocity has gone up, but clarity hasn't. AI has made it incredibly easy to produce code quickly, but producing code and producing the right code are not the same thing. And teams can feel that mismatch. They are shipping faster, but they are also rewriting more. They are also questioning decisions after the fact. They are accumulating tech debt in new and much more creative ways, and they are losing a sense of architectural cohesion. So the shift is subtle but real. AI accelerates execution, but not understanding. And when execution outruns understanding, teams start losing their footing.
And this isn't the first time that engineering has gone through a silver bullet moment. Every decade there is something. But what you said earlier, that this moment rhymes with the past but isn't exactly like the past, is interesting. Where do you see that connection?
So, Varun, we have lived versions of this before. Agile was supposed to fix things. DevOps was supposed to fix things. Microservices, containerization, we have had multiple waves of transformation. But what is different now is sheer scale and accessibility. AI has dropped the barrier to producing code dramatically. Juniors can now do in an hour what seniors used to take a full afternoon to do. That has never happened before. Yet the problems haven't disappeared, they have just shifted. You are faster, but not necessarily more aligned. So, yes, the pattern repeats, but this time the delta between speed and system understanding is much, much larger. And that is why it is destabilizing teams.
So let's now go from the symptom to the cause. You've said many times, I think, that AI is great at code but terrible at context. I think this is the heart of the issue.
It is. AI doesn't know why your software exists. It doesn't know the product vision, the business constraints, the invisible decisions your team already made, the patterns that you follow, the ones that you avoid. So what happens? AI just generate codes which looks correct and might even pass all the tests, but it is misaligned with the system. It's technically correct, but it is systematically wrong. And that wrongness isn't obvious on day one. It shows up later as duplicated logic, inconsistent patterns, architectural drift, brittle integrations. This is what I call context drift. And AI accelerates it massively because of its speed.
We've seen this internally too. Everything passes CI/CD, but 2 sprints later, the system feels heavier and more tangled. Not broken, just off.
Yes, that is context drift. It's a silent killer of long term productivity. The more AI you use without guardrails, the faster drift accumulates. And once Drift hits a certain threshold, teams enter what I call the refactor spiral. They are constantly correcting yesterday's shortcuts instead of building tomorrow's features. And the irony, Varun, is AI didn't create the chaos. It just amplified whatever chaos was already there.
Which brings us to specs. And I know the moment we say specs or specifications, half the audience thinks of those 200-page PDFs we used to generate and never read. But what we are talking about today is nothing like that, right?
Not at all, not at all. Spec-driven development isn't documentation. It's just alignment. A modern spec is very lightweight. It's those markdown files, right? It's versioned, it's collaborative, and it's machine readable. And more, it is living. It's a blueprint that tells both humans and AI, this is the system that we are building, and this is how it has to behave. And here's the secret behind the scenes, Varun. You can't give useful instructions to an AI if you haven't defined the outcome clearly yourself. So specs are the missing context layer that AI desperately needs. Without them, AI is just guessing.
You've mapped this onto a maturity curve, which I think a lot of leaders will relate to. Walk us through it.
Sure. So I consider them as four stages. So there is this one pre-AI, which we call traditional development, where everything lives in heads, onboarding becomes slow, specs are dead on arrival, and then we entered into the AI era with AI-assisted development. Tools appeared, speed really increased, but the chaos remained. So we are generating code faster than we can decide. So now we are talking about stage three, which is the spec-driven development. The spec now become the living, structured, machine readable. Your rework drops, your predictability rises, your onboarding accelerates, and we are headed towards a stage four where you're looking at autonomous systems. So now you have the specs. So AI now starts updating the documents, analyzing the impact, maintaining consistency, starts to plan the work. So what's the fun part here? Most companies think that they are already at stage three or stage four. Well, mostly are stuck between stage one and two.
Let's shift lenses for a moment. Why should CXOs, VPs, product heads care about this? Why isn't this just an engineering discussion?
Because this isn't just about code, it's about economics. With structured specs in place, leaders suddenly get reliable roadmaps. You can have a predictable delivery now. You have a lower risk, you can have a faster pivot, you have a clearer accountability, and real numbers are coming in. 20 to 30% reduction in rework is common. That's millions saved. This is executive level impact, not just engineering hygiene.
We are not alone in this shift though. GitHub has SpecKit, Anthropic is pushing structured planning. The world is waking up to this idea.
Exactly. And at Indexnine, we have built our own approach around three pillars. The specification framework is our first pillar, which is a structured way to capture product behaviors, decisions, and architecture in a coherent map. Our pillar number two is the agent assisted workflows. These are our AI agents that maintain the context, catch inconsistencies, and keep specs in sync. And the third layer is, of course, the governance layer, the lightweight rituals that keep the spec alive. It's not a document, it's a living part of the development process. And yes, we have validated it internally first. If it didn't work for us, we would never have brought it out.
So, for the teams who are listening at this point, what's the simplest entry point without committing to a big transformation?
Well, a 90-day pilot. That's enough to feel the shift. Pick a product or module, build the lightweight spec, run your normal sprints with the spec as truth, measure rework, clarity, and onboarding. By week 6, most teams will say this feels calmer, this feels controlled, and that's usually how it begins.
Before we wrap, what's the one question that leaders should ask themselves after listening to this?
Simple. Can we keep building software the way we did before AI? Because AI doesn't reduce complexity, it magnifies it. The teams that win will be the ones that give AI the right context.
Beautifully put. Ashish, thank you for doing this, and we are gonna come back to you again soon for more insights in the AI space.
All right, so always good to speak about topics in AI, Varun.
Alright, everyone, thank you for tuning in. If spec-driven development feels like the missing piece in your AI adoption story, it probably is. We are going to be back soon with more takes on trends in enterprise adoption of AI. Stay tuned.